The stars were quiet in this part of space. Too quiet. Captain Park Do-hyun stood at the bridge of his ship, the UNSF Iron Resolve, and watched the empty blackness through the main viewport. His hands were clasped behind his back. His face showed nothing, but his eyes moved constantly, scanning, searching, waiting. The Iron Resolve looked like a simple cargo ship. It was large and slow and ugly. Gray metal plates covered its hull. Rust marks spread across its belly like old wounds. Anyone who saw it would think the same thing. Easy target, easy prey. That was exactly what Captain Park wanted them to think. "Sir," said Lieutenant Kim Yuna from her station. She was young, only 28 years old, but her eyes were sharp like a hawk. "Sensors are picking up movement in the asteroid field. 6 contacts. They are trying to hide behind the rocks." Park did not turn around. He already knew they were there. He had known for the last 3 hours. What kind of ships? What kind of ships? Velthari raiders? Light attack craft? Standard formation for an ambush? Park nodded slowly. The Velthari. He had heard many stories about them. Insect-like creatures with hard shells and too many legs. They had been raiding ships in this sector for decades. They took cargo. They took prisoners. They sold both to the highest bidder. The United Nations Space Force had sent warnings to all ships. Avoid this region. Do not travel alone. If you see Velthari ships, run. The Iron Resolve had ignored every warning. It had come here on purpose. "How long until they move?" Park asked. Lieutenant Kim checked her screens. "Based on their speed and position, they will intercept us in 12 minutes. Maybe less if they decide to stop hiding." Park finally turned around. His bridge crew was small. Only 12 people. They sat at their stations with calm faces, but he could see the tension in their shoulders. They knew what was coming. "Everyone," Park said, his voice low and steady. "You know why we are here. You know what this ship really is. When I give the order, we show them everything. No hesitation. No mercy. These creatures have taken too many of our people. Today, we take them back." Chief Engineer Baek Jinho looked up from his console. He was a big man with rough hands and a face that rarely smiled. "All systems ready, Captain. The guns are hot. Just say the word." Park allowed himself a small nod. "Good. Now we wait." The minutes passed slowly. On the screens, the 6 Velthari ships crept closer. They moved like spiders, patient and careful. They thought they were the hunters. They thought the Iron Resolve was just another fat cargo ship carrying goods to some distant colony. They were wrong. A light blinked on the communications panel. Ensign Cho Minji, the youngest member of the crew at 24 years old, pressed a button. "Incoming transmission, Captain. They want to talk." "Put it through." The speakers crackled. Then, a voice filled the bridge. It was not a human voice. It clicked and hissed and scraped like insects crawling over metal. "Human vessel. This is Fleet Commander Thrix of the Velthari Sovereignty. You have entered our hunting grounds. Power down your engines and prepare for boarding. If you resist, we will destroy you. If you cooperate, some of you may live. You have 60 seconds to decide." The bridge was silent. Every eye turned to Captain Park. He did not respond to the transmission. Instead, he looked at his crew one by one. He saw no fear in their faces, only readiness, only trust. "Lieutenant Kim," he said quietly, "wake up the ship." Kim pressed a sequence of buttons on her console. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Iron Resolve began to change. Hidden panels along the hull slid open with a heavy grinding sound. Metal plates that had looked like rust and damage folded away to reveal rows of weapons. Railgun batteries extended from the ship's sides like claws. Torpedo tubes emerged from the belly. Targeting systems came online with a soft hum. The ugly cargo ship was gone. In its place was something else entirely. A predator. A wolf in sheep's clothing. On the Velthari flagship, Fleet Commander Thrix watched his sensors with growing confusion. The human ship's power signature was changing. It was getting stronger, much stronger. "What is happening?" he demanded. "What are they doing?" His sub-commander, a younger Velthari named Chick, stared at his screen with wide eyes. "Commander, I am reading multiple weapon systems coming online. Railguns, torpedo launchers, point defense turrets. This is not a cargo ship." "Impossible," Thrix hissed. "It has no weapons. Our scans were wrong." On the Iron Resolve, Ensign Cho opened a new channel. Her voice was pleasant and calm, almost cheerful. "Velthari vessels, this is the UNSF Iron Resolve. You have committed an act of war against the United Nations Space Force. You have attacked human ships. You have taken human prisoners. You have sold human beings as slaves." She paused for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was still calm, but there was something cold underneath it. "You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning." Fleet Commander Thrix listened to the human female's words. For a moment, he felt something strange. Something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear, but he pushed it away. He was Velthari. He had raided 1,000 ships. He had killed countless creatures. He would not be scared by one human and her tricks. "All ships," he commanded. "Attack formation. Destroy them." The 6 Velthari vessels surged forward, weapons charging. On the Iron Resolve, Captain Park watched them come. He felt no anger, no excitement, only a cold, heavy certainty. "Lieutenant Kim," he said. "Fire." The railguns spoke first. They did not make the bright flashing lights of energy weapons. They did not hum or glow. They simply threw chunks of metal at incredible speed. Physics did the rest. The first Velthari ship was hit by 3 rounds in less than a second. The metal slugs punched through its thin hull like paper. The ship did not explode dramatically. It simply broke apart, spilling air and bodies into the void. The second ship tried to turn away. It was too slow. 2 torpedoes caught it in the engine section. This time, there was an explosion. A bright flower of fire that died quickly in the vacuum of space. 4 ships remained. Fleet Commander Thrix screamed orders at his crew. His clicking voice was high and panicked. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were weak. Humans surrendered. Humans begged for their lives. These humans were not begging. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Captain Park stood like a statue. His face was stone. His voice was ice. "Continue firing. No survivors." Lieutenant Kim obeyed. Her fingers moved across her console with practiced ease. More railgun rounds streaked through space. More torpedoes launched from their tubes. The Velthari ships tried to fight back. Their weapons hit the Iron Resolve's hull, leaving burns and small holes. But the human ship kept coming. It absorbed the damage and kept firing. Another Velthari vessel died, then another. 2 ships remained. One of them turned and tried to run. "They are fleeing," Ensign Cho reported. Captain Park's eyes narrowed. "Track them." Lieutenant Kim locked onto the fleeing ship. "I have them." "Sir." "Fire." 2 more torpedoes raced through the darkness. The running ship never had a chance. It vanished in a ball of light. Only one ship was left now. The flagship, Fleet Commander Thrix's vessel. On that ship, Thrix stood frozen in the middle of his bridge. Around him, his crew was screaming and running. Alarms blared. Damage reports flooded the screens. 5 ships gone in less than 2 minutes. 5 ships destroyed by a single human vessel. He finally understood the truth. The humans had not wandered into his hunting grounds by accident. They had not come here as prey. They had come as hunters, and he was the prey. Fleet Commander Thrix could not stop shaking. His 6 legs trembled beneath him. His hard shell felt suddenly thin and weak. On the screens around him, he could see the remains of his fleet. Twisted metal, frozen bodies, clouds of debris spreading slowly through space. 5 ships, gone, just like that. "Commander," Sub-Commander Chick called out, His voice was high with panic. "The human ship is closing on us. Weapons are still locked. What do we do?" Thrix did not answer. He was still trying to understand what had happened. The Velthari had been raiding ships for 300 years. They had fought dozens of species across the galaxy. They always won. They were fast. They were brutal. They were feared. But this human ship had destroyed 5 vessels in the time it took to breathe. "How?" "Commander!" Chick shouted again. "They are charging weapons." Thrix forced his mind to work. He needed to think. He needed a plan. The humans wanted something. Everyone wanted something. Maybe he could negotiate. Maybe he could offer them cargo, prisoners, territory. "Open a channel," he ordered. "I will speak to them." The communications officer obeyed with shaking claws. A moment later, the connection was established. "Human vessel," Thrix said, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is Fleet Commander Thrix. I wish to discuss terms. Surely we can find an agreement that benefits us both. The Velthari sovereignty has much to offer. Gold. Technology. Information. Name your price." There was silence on the other end. Then a human voice responded. It was male. Calm. Cold. "This is Captain Park of the Iron Resolve. There will be no negotiation. You do not understand," Thrix said quickly. "I have prisoners. Human prisoners. 43 of your people in my cargo hold. If you attack, they will die." More silence. Thrix felt a tiny spark of hope. This was his leverage. Humans cared about their own kind. It was their greatest weakness. Finally, the human captain spoke again. "I know about the prisoners. Why do you think we are here?" Thrix's hope flickered and died. On the Iron Resolve, Captain Park ended the transmission. He did not need to hear any more of the Velthari commander's words. He knew exactly what kind of creature he was dealing with. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim said, "the flagship is trying to maneuver. They might be positioning for a jump to hyperspace." Park shook his head. "They will not run. They think the prisoners will protect them." He turned to look at his crew. "They are wrong." Chief Engineer Bake stepped forward. His face was grim. "Captain, if we destroy that ship, we destroy our people too." "I know." Park walked slowly across the bridge. "That is why we are not going to destroy it. We are going to take it." The crew exchanged glances. Ensign Cho spoke first. "A boarding action? Against a Velthari warship?" "Against a damaged Velthari warship," Park corrected. "Lieutenant Kim, target their engines and weapons. Disable. Do not destroy. I want that ship dead in space but intact." Kim nodded and turned back to her console. Her fingers danced across the controls. Firing solutions ready. Railguns set for precision strikes. Fire. The Iron Resolve's guns barked again. This time, they did not aim to kill. They aimed to cripple. Metal slugs tore through specific points on the Velthari flagship. Engine pods exploded. Weapon turrets went dark. The ship shuddered and began to drift. On the Velthari bridge, chaos erupted. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. Crew members screamed as they were thrown from their stations. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Sub-Commander Chick pulled himself up from the floor. Green blood dripped from a cut on his head. "We have lost engines. Weapons are offline. We are helpless." Thrix stood in the middle of the destruction, his mind racing. He had to do something. He had to stop this. "The prisoners," he said suddenly. "Bring the prisoners to the bridge. If the humans want their people, they will have to come get them. We will be ready." Chick stared at him. "Commander, our weapons are—" "We still have warriors," Thrix shouted. "We still have claws. Let them come aboard. Let them fight us in the corridors. That is where we are strongest." For a moment, hope returned to the Velthari crew. Yes. Yes. That was the answer. The Velthari were feared across the galaxy for their close combat skills. Their shells were hard as armor. Their claws could tear through metal. In the tight spaces of a ship, they were nearly unstoppable. Let the humans come. Let them learn what it meant to fight Velthari face to face. On the Iron Resolve, Captain Park watched the crippled flagship on his screen. He could see small figures moving inside the ship, gathering near the airlocks. They were preparing for boarders. Good. He wanted them to be prepared. He wanted them to think they had a chance. Sergeant Major Han, he said into the ship's comm system, your team is clear to launch. Deep in the belly of the Iron Resolve, Sergeant Major Han Sujin stood in the ready room with her squad. 15 Marines in heavy combat armor. They called themselves the Helldivers. Han was 38 years old. She had been fighting since she was 19. She had fought in the colonial wars. She had fought in the Belt Uprising. She had fought on 12 different planets and moons. She had scars on her body that she had stopped counting years ago. She was not pretty. She was not soft. She was a weapon made of flesh and bone and fury. Listen up, she said to her Marines. There are 43 of our people on that ship, civilians, families. They have been in Velthari hands for weeks, maybe months. We are going to bring them home. The Marines stood at attention, their faces hidden behind their helmets. But Han knew every one of them. She had trained them. She had bled with them. She trusted them with her life. The Velthari think they are good fighters. They think their shells and claws make them dangerous. They are wrong. They have never fought us. Not really. They have only fought humans who were afraid, humans who did not fight back. She picked up her rifle and checked the ammunition. We are not those humans. We are the ones they should have feared. We are the reason their children will have nightmares. Private No Taewan stood near the back of the group. He was the youngest Marine at 21 years old. This was his first real mission. His first real combat. His hands were shaking slightly, and he hoped no one could see. He had trained for 2 years. He had scored top marks in every test. But training was not real. Training did not bleed. Sergeant Major Han noticed him. She walked over and stood directly in front of him. Her eyes met his through their helmet visors. Private No. Are you scared? He thought about lying. He thought about saying no. He was fine. He was ready. But something about Han's gaze made lies impossible. Yes, Sergeant Major. I am scared. Han nodded slowly. Good. Fear keeps you alive. Fear makes you careful. The ones who are not scared are the ones who die first. She put a hand on his shoulder. Stay close to me. Watch my back. Do your job. You will be fine. No took a deep breath and stood straighter. Yes, Sergeant Major. The alarm sounded. The breach pods were ready. Han turned to face her team one last time. Helldivers, mount up. We have people to save. They climbed into the breach pods. Small, fast, armored capsules designed to punch through enemy hulls and deliver Marines directly into combat. Each pod held 4 soldiers. No strapped himself in next to 3 veterans. They nodded at him but said nothing. There were no words needed now. Only action. The pod launched with a violent kick. No felt his stomach drop as they shot across the gap between ships. Through a tiny window, he could see the Velthari flagship growing larger and larger. Impact in 10 seconds. He gripped his rifle tighter. Impact in 5 seconds. He thought of his mother back on Earth. He had promised her he would come home. Impact in 2 seconds. He closed his eyes and whispered a prayer. Then the pod hit the enemy ship, and Private No Taewan went to war. The breach pod tore through the Velthari hull like a fist through paper. Metal screamed. Air rushed out into space. Then the pod's door blew open, and Private No found himself standing in an alien corridor. Red emergency lights painted everything in blood colors. Alarms wailed in strange pitches. The air smelled wrong. Chemical. Insect-like. Move, Sergeant Major Han shouted. She was already out of the pod, her rifle up and scanning. Secure the corridor. No forced his legs to obey. He stumbled out of the pod and pressed his back against the wall. His rifle felt heavy in his hands. His heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. Down the corridor, he saw them. Velthari warriors. They were bigger than he had expected. Each one stood nearly 2 meters tall, with hard shells covering their bodies like natural armor. They had 4 arms, each ending in sharp claws that clicked against the metal floor. Their eyes were black and empty, like holes in reality. 6 of them charged toward the Marines. "Contact front!" Han yelled. "Open fire!" The corridor exploded with sound. Marine rifles cracked. Velthari screeched. No pulled his trigger and felt the weapon kick against his shoulder. He did not know if he hit anything. He just kept firing. The first Velthari fell, its shell cracked open by multiple rounds. The second one made it closer before a burst caught it in the head. The third one reached the Marine line. It crashed into Corporal Shin, knocking him to the ground. Its claws slashed down, aiming for his throat. No did not think. He acted. He swung his rifle and smashed it into the Velthari's head. The creature stumbled. Shin rolled away and put 3 rounds into its chest. "Thanks," Shin grunted, climbing to his feet. No could not respond. His mouth was too dry. His hands were shaking worse than before. But he was alive. He had fought. And he was alive. Han pushed forward, stepping over the dead Velthari. "Keep moving. The prisoners are 3 decks down." The Marines advanced through the ship like a spreading fire. Every corridor brought new enemies. Every room held new dangers. The Velthari fought hard. They used the narrow spaces to their advantage, attacking from shadows and side passages. But the Marines were ready. They had trained for this: close quarters combat, room clearing, urban warfare in metal boxes floating through space. They moved as a unit, covering each other, supporting each other, killing together. No stayed close to Han, just as she had ordered. He watched her fight and tried to learn. She moved like water, flowing from target to target. Her rifle never stopped. Her voice never wavered. She was calm in the middle of chaos, a fixed point in a storm of violence. They reached a stairwell. Han held up her fist, and the squad stopped. "Motion sensors show a large group ahead," she said, checking the display on her wrist. 20 or more hostiles. They are defending something. "The prisoners," one of the veterans said. Han nodded. "That is what I think. We go in hard and fast. Grenades first, then we push. Watch your fire. Our people are in there somewhere." The Marines prepared themselves, grenades in hand, weapons ready. "On my mark," Han said. 3, 2, 1, go. The first grenades flew down the stairs and exploded in bursts of light and sound. Flashbangs. Designed to blind and deafen. Not to kill. The Marines could not risk hurting the prisoners. They charged down the stairs and into a large cargo hold. Velthari warriors stumbled and staggered, disoriented by the grenades. The Marines did not give them time to recover. No ran into the room and immediately saw them. The prisoners. 43 humans crammed into metal cages along the far wall. Men, women. Some of them were young, barely more than children. They were thin and dirty and scared, but they were alive. "Clear the room," Han ordered. "Get those cages open." The battle was brutal but short. The disoriented Velthari fell quickly under Marine fire. A few managed to fight back. One of them slashed a Marine across the chest, cutting through his armor. Another grabbed a Marine by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Han shot that one herself. 3 rounds to the face. The Velthari dropped the Marine and collapsed. "Medic," she called. "We have wounded." While the medics worked, other Marines rushed to the cages. They used cutting tools to slice through the locks. The prisoners poured out, crying and screaming and thanking God. No stood guard, watching for more enemies. His rifle was hot in his hands. He had fired so many rounds, he had lost count. A woman approached him. She was thin, with dark hair and hollow eyes. But there was something strong in her face. Something that had not been broken. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was rough, like she had not spoken in a long time. "Thank you for coming." What is your name? No asked. Oh, Yunji. I was captured 3 months ago. 3 months. No could not imagine it. 3 months in Velthari hands. 3 months in a cage. You are safe now, he said. We are taking you home. Yunji shook her head slowly. Not all of us. My husband was taken. They sold him to another ship 2 weeks ago. He is still out there somewhere. Before No could respond, Han's voice cut through the chaos. Private No, eyes forward. We are not done yet. He snapped back to attention. Han was right. The prisoners were free, but they were still on an enemy ship. They still had to get out. All units, form up, Han ordered. We are moving to the bridge. The commander of this ship is still alive. I want him. The Marines gathered the prisoners into a tight group. Those who could walk helped those who could not. The strongest prisoners were given weapons taken from dead Velthari. Unji was one of them. She held a Velthari pistol like she knew how to use it. Stay behind me, Han told her. No, Unji said. Her voice was quiet but firm. I have spent 3 months behind walls. Behind bars. Behind fear. Not anymore. I will fight. Han studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. Fine. But follow orders and do not get killed. We did not come all this way to lose you now. They moved through the ship. The remaining Velthari were scattered and panicked. Without their commander's orders, they did not know what to do. Some fought. Some ran. Some hid. The Marines killed them all. No had stopped counting how many enemies he had shot. His arms were tired. His legs were heavy. His shoulder hurt where a Velthari claw had cut him during a fight on the second deck. But he kept moving. He kept fighting, because that was what humans did. They reached the bridge level. A thick door blocked their path. It was sealed from the inside. Can we cut through? Han asked. One of the engineers checked his equipment. Yes, but it will take time. 5 minutes. Maybe more. Do it. The cutting torch came out. Sparks flew as it bit into the alien metal. The Marines spread out, watching every approach, waiting for counterattacks. Inside the bridge, Fleet Commander Thrix watched a screen that showed the humans cutting through his door. His crew was dead or fled. Only Subcommander Chick remained, bleeding green blood onto the floor. We should surrender, Chick said weakly. Perhaps they will show mercy. Thrix clicked his claws in anger. Mercy? Did we show mercy when we took their people? Did we show mercy when we sold their families as slaves? He shook his head. No. There will be no mercy. Not for us. Not from them, Chick coughed. More blood spilled from his wounds. Then we are dead, perhaps. Thrix picked up a weapon. But I will not die cowering like prey. I am Velthari. I am a hunter. Chick laughed. It was a wet, painful sound. You still do not understand, Commander. Look at them. Look at what they did to our fleet. Look at what they did to our warriors. They are not prey. They were never prey. 2. He crawled toward the door, leaving a trail of green blood behind him. We are the prey now. We always were. We just did not know it. The cutting torch broke through. The door began to glow red, then orange, then white. Pieces of metal fell away. Han stepped forward, ready to be the first through the breach. Helldivers, she said. Let us finish this. The door fell with a heavy crash. Smoke and sparks filled the air. Sergeant Major Han stepped through before the metal had even stopped moving, her rifle sweeping the room. The Velthari bridge was larger than she expected. Strange consoles lined the walls, covered in buttons and lights that meant nothing to human eyes. Screens showed static or damage reports in alien symbols. Bodies lay scattered across the floor, dead crew members who had died when the Iron Resolve's railguns tore through the ship. In the center of it all stood Fleet Commander Thrix. He was bigger than the other Velthari. His shell was darker, marked with patterns that might have been battle honors or rank symbols. He held a weapon in 2 of his forearms, his black eyes fixed on Han with something that looked almost like respect. So, he said. His voice was calm now, not panicked like before. You came yourself. Han did not lower her rifle. Behind her, the other Marines spread out, taking positions around the room. Private No stayed close, his weapon trained on the Velthari commander. I am not the leader, Han said. I am just the one who opens doors. Thrix made a sound that might have been laughter. Humble. Interesting. My kind would never say such a thing. We always claim to be the greatest, the strongest, the most powerful. He looked at the bodies around him. Perhaps that is why we are dying. Drop your weapon, Han ordered. Get on the ground. You are coming with us. Am I? Thrix raised his weapon slightly. And if I refuse? Will you kill me? Will you add one more body to the pile? Yes. The simple answer seemed to surprise him. He studied Han's face through her helmet visor, searching for something. Fear, maybe. Hesitation. He found neither. You do not bluff, he said slowly. You would really kill me, right here, right now, without losing a second of sleep. Thrix was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he lowered his weapon and let it drop to the floor. No, he said. I do not think I will die today. I think I will live. I think I will see what happens next. I think I want to understand you. You strange, terrible creatures. Han moved forward, her rifle still aimed at his head. On the ground. Now. Thrix obeyed, his legs folded beneath him, and he lowered himself to the deck. Two Marines rushed forward with restraints. Special cuffs designed for Velthari physiology. They locked his forearms behind his back and connected his legs together. Clear the room, Han ordered. Check for survivors. The Marines moved through the bridge, checking bodies and consoles. Most of the Velthari crew was dead. One was still alive but unconscious. They restrained him too. Near the main door, Private No found Sub-Commander Chick. The Velthari second-in-command was slumped against the wall, green blood pooling beneath him. His eyes were open but fading. Hey, No said, kneeling beside him. Hey, can you hear me? Chick turned his head slowly. His mandibles moved, trying to speak. Human, young human. You look scared. No did not deny it. You are dying. Yes. Chick coughed. More blood. I know. It is strange. I killed so many creatures in my life. I never thought about what it felt like to be the one dying. Do you want help? We have medics. Chick made that wet laughing sound again. No. I do not want your help. I do not deserve it. He looked at No with his fading black eyes. Let me tell you something. Young human, a warning. For your people. No listened. The Velthari are not the only ones, Chick said. His voice was getting weaker. There are others out there. Other hunters. Other slavers. Bigger. Stronger. They have watched your kind for a long time. They think you are weak. They think you are prey. He grabbed No's arm with his remaining strength. Show them what you showed us. Show them what humans really are. Make them afraid. Make them so afraid they never touch your people again. His grip loosened. His eyes went dark. His body slumped. Sub-Commander Chick was dead. No stood slowly, looking down at the body. A strange feeling moved through him. Not sadness exactly. Not satisfaction either. Something in between. Private No, Han called. We are moving out. Let us go. They left the bridge. The prisoners followed behind them, surrounded by Marines. Unji walked near the front, the alien pistol still in her hand. She had not fired it yet. Part of her was grateful. Part of her was disappointed. The walk back to the breach pods was long but quiet. Most of the fighting was over. The few remaining Velthari on the ship had retreated to hidden corners, too scared to face the humans again. They passed through the cargo hold where the prisoners had been kept. Unji stopped for a moment, looking at the empty cages. 3 months, she said quietly. 3 months I spent in that cage. They fed us twice a day. Just enough to keep us alive. They told us we would be sold. That we would spend the rest of our lives as slaves. Han stopped beside her. It is over now, is it? Unji looked at her. My husband is still out there, on another ship, in another cage. We will find him. How? The galaxy is big. He could be anywhere. Han was silent for a moment. Then she said, because we do not give up. Because we do not leave our people behind. It might take months. It might take years. But we will find every human the Velthari took. Every single one. Unji searched Han's face. Do you really believe that? I do not believe it. I know it. Because that is what we do. That is what makes us human. They continued walking. Behind them, Fleet Commander Thrix stumbled along, pushed by 2 Marines. He listened to the conversation between the human women. He listened and learned. These creatures were not like the others, not like the Trandians who surrendered when they were outnumbered, not like the Volcari who fled when their ships were damaged, not like the Sithek who negotiated when their people were captured. Humans did not surrender. Humans did not flee. Humans did not negotiate. Humans fought, until the last breath, until the last bullet, until the last drop of blood. And when they won, they did not stop. They kept coming. They kept searching. They never forgot. Thrix had been a hunter for 60 years. He had seen many species. He had learned their strengths and weaknesses. He had exploited their fears. But he had never met a species that scared him. Not until today. The breach pods were waiting. The Marines loaded the prisoners first, making sure everyone was secure. Thrix was shoved into a pod with 4 armed guards watching him. Private No was the last one to board. He stood at the entrance, looking back at the Velthari ship. The corridors were dark now, filled with bodies and wreckage. The ship was dying, just like its crew. Move it, Private, Han said from inside the pod. No climbed in. The door sealed behind him. The pod launched, throwing them back toward the Iron Resolve. Through the small window, he watched the Velthari flagship shrink. It looked so small now, so broken. Hard to believe it had once been a terror that made ships flee in panic. Now it was just wreckage. He thought about what Sub-Commander Chick had said. About other hunters out there watching. About making them afraid. For the first time since the battle started, Private No smiled. Let them come, he thought. Let them all come. We will be ready. The Iron Resolve drifted in the silence of space. Around it, the debris of 6 Velthari ships spread slowly outward like ripples in a pond. Twisted metal, frozen bodies, the remains of a fleet that had thought itself unbeatable. In the medical bay, doctors and nurses worked without rest. The 43 freed prisoners needed care, food, water, treatment for wounds both physical and mental. Some of them had been captives for months. The scars would take time to heal. Captain Park Do-hyun walked among them. He stopped at each bed. He spoke to each person. He listened to their stories, their fears, their hopes. An old man grabbed his hand. Thank you, the man said, tears running down his face. Thank you for not forgetting us. Park squeezed his hand gently. We never forget. Not ever. In another section of the medical bay, Private No sat on a table while a medic stitched the wound on his shoulder. The cut was deep but clean. It would heal quickly. Your first battle, the medic said. How do you feel? No thought about the question. He thought about the fear he had felt in the breach pod, the chaos of the corridors, the faces of the Velthari as they died, the look in Sub-Commander Chick's eyes at the end. I feel different, he said finally. Like I am not the same person I was this morning. The medic nodded. That is normal. Combat changes everyone. The question is, how it changes you. How did it change you? The medic paused her work. She looked at him with tired eyes. It made me want to save people, to fix what war breaks. That is why I became a medic. No looked down at his hands. They had stopped shaking. I think I understand. Across the ship, Sergeant Major Han delivered her report to Captain Park. They stood in his private office, speaking in low voices. All 43 prisoners recovered, Han said. 4 Marines wounded. None critically. 16 confirmed enemy kills by my team alone. We captured 2 Velthari alive, including their fleet commander. Park nodded. Good work, Sergeant Major. Your team performed exactly as expected. They performed better. Especially the new one. Private No. He surprised me. How so? Han allowed herself a small smile. He was scared out of his mind. I could see it in his eyes. But he did his job anyway. He did not freeze. He did not run. When his squad mate was in danger, he acted without thinking. She paused. That kind of soldier is rare. Park made a note. I will remember that. In the brig, Fleet Commander Thrix sat in a human cell. The walls were gray metal. The bed was hard. The lights were bright and never turned off. 2 armed guards stood outside at all times. A human woman came to see him. She was older, with gray in her hair and lines around her eyes. She wore the uniform of a high-ranking officer, an admiral. Thrix guessed. Fleet Commander Thrix, she said. I am Admiral Moon Ji-yun. I have some questions for you. Thrix clicked his claws. I am sure you do. But why should I answer? You will execute me anyway. Everyone, I would be you will execute me anyway. Perhaps. Perhaps not. That depends on how useful you are. Useful. The word tasted strange in Thrix's mouth. What information could I have that would be useful to you? 8. Admiral Moon sat down across from him. Her eyes were sharp and cold. Your hunting routes, your slave markets, the locations of your other ships, the names of the species you trade with. Thrix was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed. That horrible clicking sound that humans found so unsettling. You want to hunt us. You want to find every Velthari ship and destroy them. You want to free every human we have ever taken. Yes, that is ambitious. The Velthari sovereignty spans dozens of systems. We have hundreds of ships, thousands of warriors. Admiral Moon leaned forward. You had 6 ships today. Now you have none. You had thousands of warriors. Now you have 2. Do not overestimate your position, Commander. The war is just beginning, and you have already lost. Thrix studied her face. He saw no fear. No doubt. Only certainty. You really believe you can win, he said. I do not believe it. I know it. She stood up. Think about my questions. We will talk again tomorrow. She left. The guards remained. Thrix sat alone in his cell, thinking about everything that had happened. 3 months later, a Velthari diplomatic ship approached Earth's orbital station. It flew under a white flag, a symbol of peace that the Velthari had never used before. Inside the ship, Ambassador Keth prepared for the most important meeting of his life. His masters on the Velthari homeworld had sent him with a simple mission: negotiate the release of Fleet Commander Thrix, establish peace with the humans, end the conflict before it grew worse. The war had not gone well for the Velthari. In 3 months, the humans had destroyed 47 ships. They had raided 12 Velthari bases. They had freed over 2,000 human prisoners, and they showed no signs of stopping. The humans were not fighting for territory or resources. They were not fighting for power or glory. They were fighting because the Velthari had taken their people, and they would not stop until every single one was returned. Ambassador Keth walked through the human station with an escort of armed guards. He tried to look calm. He tried to look dignified. But his legs trembled beneath him. Every human he passed looked at him with cold eyes. Some of them smiled. That was worse. The meeting room was simple. A table, some chairs, a window that looked out at the stars. The human ambassador was already waiting. Her name was Park So-yeon. She was related to Captain Park, Keth had learned. His sister, Ambassador Keth, she said. Welcome to Earth Station. Please, sit. Keth sat. His guard stood behind him. Park So-yeon's guard stood behind her. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. I come with an offer of peace, Keth said. The Velthari sovereignty wishes to end this conflict. We will release all remaining human prisoners. We will pay compensation for those who were harmed. We will withdraw from the sectors near your territory. Park So-yeon listened. Her face showed nothing. In exchange, Keth continued, we ask for the return of Fleet Commander Thrix and the end of human attacks on Velthari ships. Silence. Park So-yeon looked at him for a long moment. Then she pulled out a datapad and placed it on the table. This is a list, she said. The names of every human who is still missing. 417 people. Men, women, children. Your kind took them. Your kind sold them. Some of them were sold to other species. Some of them are on ships we have not found yet. She pushed the pad toward him. Find them. All of them. Return them to us alive. Then we will discuss peace. Quote. Keth looked at the list. 400 names. 400 humans scattered across dozens of systems. Sold to dozens of buyers. This is impossible, he said. We do not know where they all are. Some were sold years ago. They could be anywhere. Then you had better start looking. Park So-yeon's voice was ice. Because until every name on that list comes home, there will be no peace. There will be no negotiation. There will only be war. Keth felt something he had never felt before in a diplomatic meeting. Fear. Real fear. Why? He asked. Why go to such lengths? They are just individuals. Some of them are old. Some are sick. Some are not valuable. Why destroy yourselves to save them? Park So-yeon stared at him. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but hard as steel. Because they are ours. Because they matter. Because every human life has value. Not because of what they can do, but because of what they are. She leaned forward. You see people as resources, as cargo, as things to be bought and sold. We see people as people. And we do not abandon our people. Ever. Keth sat in silence. He had been prepared for anger. For demands. For threats. But this was something different. This was something he did not understand. You are the most terrifying species I have ever met, he said finally. Why? Because we fight well? No. Keth shook his head. Because you do not see yourselves as dangerous. You smile while discussing death. Your children play games about war. You build statues to your greatest killers and call them heroes. You think this is normal. Park So-yeon considered his words. Then she stood. Perhaps it is normal. For us. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. We are not monsters. Ambassador. We do not enjoy war. We do not seek destruction, but we will not allow our people to be taken. We will not allow them to suffer. And we will bring them home. No matter the cost. She turned back to face him. Go back to your masters. Tell them what I said. Tell them to find our people. All of them. Or the next ship that enters our space will not be a diplomatic vessel. Keth rose on shaking legs. He wanted to argue. He wanted to negotiate. But there was nothing left to say. He walked out of the room and back to his ship. As he left Earth Station, he looked back at the blue planet below. So small. So fragile. Home to creatures who had fought each other for thousands of years and somehow survived. He understood now. He understood why the humans scared him. It was not their weapons. It was not their ships. It was not their soldiers. It was their love. Their terrible, unbreakable love for each other. The Velthari had thought they were predators. They had thought humans were prey. They were wrong. Humans were something else entirely. Something the galaxy had never seen before. They were a family. 8 billion strong. Spread across 100 worlds. And when you hurt one of them, All of them came for you. Ambassador Keth returned to his homeworld and delivered his report. The Velthari High Council listened in silence. When he was finished, they asked him one question. What do you recommend? Keth did not hesitate. Find their people, return them, all of them, and never touch a human again. Ever. The council agreed. Across the galaxy, the hunt for the missing 400 continued. Human ships searched. Human soldiers fought. Human families waited, and one by one, the lost came home. Unji was standing at the dock when the ship carrying her husband arrived. She had waited 4 more months. She had never stopped believing. When he walked down the ramp, thin and tired but alive, she ran to him. They held each other and cried and laughed and said nothing at all, because sometimes there were no words, sometimes there was only love, and that was enough.